Hello and welcome, Inspired Community. This is our stage event, our special edition Stage of Inspiration, One Voice, Many Hearts today with AnneMarie Graham. I'm so happy that you are here. You are from Ireland, right? And how are you doing
I'm
today?
great. Great, Caroline. Thanks so much for having me on your stage.
Oh, it's so great that you said yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so happy about and excited about what you are going to share with us. So, I want to introduce you, of course, to our audience. You are an inspirational leader in your field. You successfully sold the Health Force Group in 2015, following a bid between an Irish provider and a US provider, leading to the acquisition of your company with Health Watch. You set up the Health Force Group in 2004, an occupational health and corporate health screening company, and you acquired Employee Health in 2012. You, AnneMarie, now runs Mindset Success Strategies, helping individuals, groups, and companies reach their potential and achieve their personal and professional goals. An intensely growth and goal oriented person who is passionate about helping others get from where they are to where want to be they want to be. AnneMarie now delivers results through her coaching and development programs, and I'm so excited to hear more about that and what you do. And please, now the stage is yours, ladies and gentlemen. AnneMarie Graham.
Thank you so much, Caroline. Welcome, 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 everyone. I'm so happy to be here. And it's so lovely to be on your stage with your audience, Caroline. So, I work mostly with business owners and I help them build better results in their business. And am basing today's presentation on 7 key steps that I have used in my 20 years in business to build 3 multi 6 figure businesses successfully and to sell my first business. So I suppose the first thing to say about me is I was a very unlikely business owner. I'm a nurse by profession. Um, and I actually failed business studies in school. I was told by my business studies teacher that I was not suited to business because maths was not a strong subject for me. So I took a little while to go from my nursing career into my corporate health screening business, but I got there and I always had a vision to build a business of my own, which I did over 11 years with Health Force, which was my first business. So my Elevate system, I call it, and the Elevate is the 7 key principles that I use. And what I want to do is share those with your audience so that they can go on to implement these strategies into their business. Many of them are to do with the way we think, and that produces the results we get. Obviously, we also need to look at business strategy. So I will cover a little bit about that too in the next hour. And I'm really, really excited to be here. So let's get started. Let's elevate. So, with business owners, I've been coaching business owners full time since 2016. And the two things that business owners always want in terms of their goals is more time freedom or more money freedom. And all of this will give them mental freedom. So, freedom to be able to live the life they want, where they control their business and their business doesn't control them. And I guess that was a big lesson for me in my first business, where the business consumed me and took so much of my time. So things in my personal life came second and the business came first. And now I have flipped that the other way around, where I come first and my personal life come first, and then the business is able to support the lifestyle that I want. So the two things with the time and money freedom that two things that we know we want to create. So first of all, we have to know where we are. So that's our red circle here. And the second thing we need to know is, what is the goal? What is the vision of the business that we want to build? Where are we going? So this seems really, really simple and it seems very obvious. So we have to ask ourselves, why do so many of us get stuck? And I got very stuck at various times in my first business and again with my coaching business. Before the pandemic, before COVID 19, I did all of my work in person. I didn't do anything online. Technology was one of my mental blocks, and that was something that I was forced to look at and forced to address so that I could bring my business online and I could continue to make a good living. So all of this comes down to this word here in red, and that's what we call our paradigm. And our paradigm is basically the way we are mentally programmed to think. The way we think, which creates our results, because the way we think dictates our behavior, and then our behavior becomes our habit, and our habit becomes our result. So there's three there's three things I'm going to address in detail today. But as I said, my Elevate system, and that this is what I call it, the Elevate system, because for me it's about getting the business owner from where they are now to where they want to be. So whatever those next levels look like. And the 7 principles for success in elevating in your business. And I am proof that these 7 things work, because when I started my first business, I had no business background. I came from a nursing background in my family. I didn't come from a family of business owners. I didn't have, education in relation to business. As I say, I failed business studies in school, but every one of these 7 principles I have used to build 3 successful multi six-figure businesses, including my coaching business as well at the moment. So the 7 steps, and Elevate is our acronym. So each letter in Elevate is covering one of these principles. So the first one is how we take responsibility for our results. E plus R equals O. And I'm going to talk to you about what that equation means and how that shows up in terms of your business and your results. The second is the level of vibration of what we think. So we think on frequencies. So if we are thinking in low vibration, we are going to produce those kind of results. So very often what we have to do is elevate our vibration so that we elevate our thinking, we take different behaviors and we get better results. The second E then is we have to evaluate where we are versus where we would like to be. So I have to know, where am I now and where do I want to be? And then we can look at, okay, what does the gap in between look like? What do I need to do? How do I need to think? Who do I need to be to become the person that will fill this gap and elevate the business? The V then is our visualization. So we need to be able to see what the business would look like when it's successful. We need to be able to visualize what it is we want, what exactly it is we want. Our A then is for action. So we can use all of the tools of manifestation. We can use visualization. We can use meditation. I use all of these in my daily practice, but none of this will move us forward if we don't take action from where we are towards the goal where we want to be. T then is the terror barrier. So this is a principle of Bob Proctor's. The terror barrier is how we overcome fear. So what I always say to my clients is, fear is a good thing. Embrace fear, because you will only experience fear when you are in a growth mindset, when you're in a growth mode, when you're coming out of your comfort zone and you're doing different things to get you different results. So overcoming that terror barrier, as I call it, and overcoming that fear is a really, really key part of elevating ourselves and our business results. And our third E, then, really, really important, is how I examine my self awareness and my beliefs about myself. Because what I believe about me will dictate the way I think. What I believe about me will dictate the things that I do. And again, what I always say when I speak on stages and what I say to my clients is, your self worth is your net worth. So, in order for you to grow a successful, financially successful business that will give you the lifestyle you want, we have to know ourselves. We have to know what are the beliefs that hold us back. We have to know how we can overcome those beliefs. So this is back to what we talked about with the paradigm. So that's our third E. So that's the 7 steps that I would use with every client. And whether I'm coaching a business owner who is only a year in business, whether it's a part-time business, whether they're a 6 or a 7-figure business owner, I use these 7 principles for success with every single person that I work with. And my own coaches, I have 2 coaches, they use these principles with me. So it's the development of self that develops everything else. And that's a key part of the work that I do. Now, I'm conscious we only have an hour today, so I'm so glad to be here, and I want to give you as much value as I can in the hour that I have with you all. So I'm going to look at the three E's in today's presentation. So that's our E plus R equals O. This is a success principle of Jack Canfield's, and Jack Canfield is a motivational speaker. He is a coach. He is a trainer. And he trains and coaches all over the world. So his book, The Success Principles, this is one of his first principles. And if you were to ask Jack, and I've done multiple training programs under Jack, I'm one of his certified trainers. I've been to the US many times to do his programs. He will always say every principle is important, but this one, E plus R equals O, is the most important. And it's how we take responsibility for our results. So rather than complaining that things are not the way we want them to be, or rather than maybe blaming other people or outside circumstances, it's about, okay, how do I take responsibility for how I show up? And I'm going to go through that equation in the presentation today. And then our second E is we're going to evaluate. I want everyone after today's presentation to know exactly where they are. So most of us know where we are. Most of us have an idea of where we want to be. We may not know exactly what it looks like, but that's really, really important. What does success look like? When the business is successful, what will that picture be and how will you feel? And we're going to look at that today. And then we're also going to look at the level of self awareness and beliefs that you might have that are holding you back from getting the results that you want or taking the steps that you want in business to get those results. So if we look at where we are versus where we want to be, there's a number of key things that we have to consider. So the first thing is you need to describe your life in as much detail as possible. So what does my business look like? How much time do I spend in my business? How much income do I earn from my business? Am I doing the work I love? Or am I in this business because I feel I have to be, or this is what I know, or I don't want to take a new avenue? So look at where you are in as much detail as possible and write down all of the feelings that come up from where you are with your current results. And that's a really great place to start. And very often when I do this in detail with business owners, words like frustration come up, tired come up, their motivation levels, their energy levels, all of these things may not be where they would like them to be. And that's really important to recognize that, because unless we're aware of something, we actually can't do anything to change it. So the first step in any change is becoming aware of how am I showing up? How is my business serving me? What way is my life today? And then we can look at what way we would like it to be. So we will look at what's working and how maybe we can do more of it. We look at what's not working and how we need to change that. Very, very important is who you spend your time with. So we all know the saying, I'm sure, that we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So it's really important that we spend time with people who are supportive of our vision, who believe in our vision, who want to help us with our vision for our business, rather than people who might say it's not a good idea. So for many years, I was told I wouldn't be suited to business. You're a nurse. Why would you not stay in a job where it's a permanent job, and in Ireland it's a permanent pensionable job? So all of those things are things that I needed to look at. And in starting my first business, there were nursing colleagues that I had to let go because they didn't believe in me starting a business. They weren't happy about it. There were remarks made that maybe caused me upset or made me think in a negative way. So it's really important that you look at how you spend your time with the people that you spend your time with and who those people are. Key then for no matter what area of our life we want to change, or what area of our life we look at that might be working or not working, we need to look at our habits. So our habits are the things that we do unconsciously. We do them without giving them any thought. So it's about looking at where are my bad habits that I need to improve, where they could become better, and where maybe are my good habits that may need to improve, or I may need to be more consistent in the things I do. So regularly, an area here that I would see with business owners is their consistency in their business development. And particularly where, if you're in a business where you're the key person, the business is dependent on you, it's really important that you look at the consistency of your habits. And this is something that I do on a quarterly basis when I'm reviewing my results. I do it on an annual basis when I'm reviewing my results. I can see from my results where my habits might need to change. So the things that I'm doing without any conscious thought that may not be serving me, that's going to be key to helping me elevate my business and elevate my results. So your daily habits are really, really important. So, do you do sales generation activity every day? Or you may decide, I'm going to do sales generation 2 days a week. I'm going to spend 3 days a week. So for me in my business, I coach and train 3 days a week, and the other 2 days in the week are spent on business development. So that could be sales, it could be prospecting, it could be networking, it could be development of new material, it could be social media. I have a virtual assistant who does my social media. So that's the kind of thing that I mean. Look at these daily habits in relation to your business results. Then you also need to look at what do I love about myself? Where are my strengths? How do I identify with myself? Do I see myself as someone who's confident, who's motivated, who's driven, who's aligned with the vision that I want for the business? Do I see myself as someone who's living my purpose, doing the work I love, serving people? So it's really important that you look at what is it that you love about yourself. And very often, if I say to people, if I say to any of you, or someone were to say to me, write down 10 things about yourself, very often we will go towards the negative. So we're programmed to have a negativity bias. So we have a little almond-shaped sized gland at the back of our brain called the amygdala, and that is programmed by fear. And that's from our caveman days. We are programmed to go more towards a fear-based thought, which maybe would bring you to look at things that you don't like about yourself, or habits that are not good, rather than embracing what is it that I love about myself? Why do I need to step up and step out in the world so that people can work with me? And then, if you're looking then at things that you'd like to change, what do I wish was different? Because all of us have the control to change any part of our lives at any time. But the first thing we have to do is identify what would I like to be different, and then it's about me making a choice as to whether or not I would like to change what's not working, or change things to be different in a way that I would prefer them to be. So, one question I would always get people to ask themselves in a presentation. As a nurse, I always use the scale of 1 to 10, because many of the scales we used in nursing to measure patient pain levels, patient comfort levels, patient skincare, for pressure sore. A lot of these measurements were on a scale of 1 to 10. So if you look at your commitment to your business at the moment, with on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being, I show up sometimes, I'm partially invested in my business, but sometimes I get the results, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I do the work, sometimes I don't. That's a 1. And then 10, I have a vision for my business. I am aligned with that vision. I know where I want to go. I know what I'm doing, and I show up as best I can every single day. That's a 10. So if you look at your commitment levels, and I love the work of Stephen Covey, who talks about the difference between being interested and being committed. So when we are committed, we will do what it takes no matter what. No matter if it's a busy day, no matter if something goes wrong in the week, no matter if we put in a proposal for a piece of business and we don't get it, or we have a discovery call with a prospect and they decide not to work with us, we keep going. We show up 100% or even 80% of the time. So sometimes 100% can overwhelm us. But if I'm showing up 80% of the time and I'm committed to my vision for the business, I'm committed to looking at my habits, I'm committed to change what's not working, and I'm committed to looking within as to how I'm creating my own results, then our chances of success are much greater. When we're interested, Stephen Covey would say, when we're interested, we show up when it's convenient. So when everything's going great, we're getting the sales, we're networking, people are reaching out to us, our social media is getting a lot of traction, we're getting our ideal clients. It's very easy to do the things when we're interested, when things are going well. But commitment requires us to persist through challenge, rejection, things that could throw us off track. So that's the kind of commitment scale on a scale of 1 to 10. So one of the things I would like everyone to do is even think now of that number in your head. Where are you on that scale of committed versus interested? And that will give you an indication in relation to how you're showing up. And that will likely tell you something about the results that you're getting in your business. So that's our commitment scale. So in relation to the vision for, evaluating where we are versus where we'd like to be. So that's our first E, our evaluation. With the vision exercises, I often break it down into a number of categories with my clients. So there are 7 key categories that I enable clients to have a vision for and enable my clients to work with. And it's not always just about the business goal. So we have a personal life. And if someone were to say to me, what is the biggest mistake you made in your first business? Although it was very successful, it was a multi six figure business. I sold it for a multi six figure sum. I had a very, very good job, corporate job with the buyers of the business. If I were asked, what's the biggest mistake I made? It was that I didn't look enough at the holistic part of the holistic business, AnneMarie's life within the business. So the business began to consume me. I ended up working, by the time I sold the business, I was working nearly 7 days a week. And although I had a very good team, there were probably elements that I was doing too much and I wasn't delegating to my team. I was trying to control too many things in the business. And that was more than likely a fear-based thought that the business may not elevate the way I wanted it to be to become a sellable business. So there were aspects of my personal life that that took a toll on aspects of my personal life. So relationships, my health, my rest and relaxation time. These are all things that I would have put secondary and the business came first. And now it's very much the other way around. My self-care is my most important tool. And that has actually driven me in my coaching business. I got that business to 6 figures within the first year because I looked after me and I didn't do that in my first business. So, with the vision exercise, I would urge everyone to look at these key areas. So, your financial vision, your financial future. So, of course, that's going to be driven by the business, but it's also around what would I like life to look like? What would be financial freedom? What would be financial security for me, for my family? And then that can be dictated by how much does my business need to generate for me to earn that level of income? Your business goes then, your business or career can be part of your vision, the recreation and free time. So R&R days, as Jack Canfield always calls them, your rest and relaxation. So what does free time look like? So for me now, that is my weekends off every weekend. It's very, very, very rarely that I will work a weekend. I will work one weekend this year, and that's a weekend in October where I'm speaking at a large seminar in Dublin. So that's a really great business opportunity. So I don't mind being at that seminar on the Saturday, networking with the delegates that are there, doing my presentation on a stage in front of people. That's also enjoyment for me because I love presenting. But having said that, I won't do that every weekend. So the rest and relaxation time, your recreation, your free time, what does that look like? Then health and fitness goals. What is the vision for your health as a healthy business owner, as somebody who looks after their health, looks after their fitness? What does that look like in terms of your vision for success? Our relationships. So it could be relationships with your spouse, with a partner, with your children, with your siblings, with your colleagues, with your friends. What would the relationships in your vision look like if they were more on the level on a 10 level? And then my personal goals. So is there anything that's personally important to me in my vision? And then my maybe community and contribution. So very often this will relate to the legacy. How do I want to be remembered? How do I want to add value in my community? What are the charities that I love to work with? Who are the people that I love to serve? So for me, there's three charities that I contribute to in Ireland, but there's one charity I do a lot of work with in particular. We have a huge problem with homelessness in our country at the moment, and Focus Ireland is a really brilliant charity, and I'm involved there in a women's philanthropy circle where I give back to that charity in various activities and funding, etc., etc. So that's important in terms of community and contribution. So look at your overall vision for success, not just a revenue goal in your business. What would a life of success look like for you? So look at those 7 key areas. And then, as I said, when we're evaluating where we are versus where we'd like to be, it's this grey square in the middle that's going to be really important. That's what I call the gap map. So the gap map is, what are the things that I'm doing or the thoughts that I'm thinking that are not serving me to move my vision forward? What are the things that I'm doing that are working well but maybe could work better? What are the things that I'm doing that are working a little bit, but I may need to tweak them to work them a little bit better? So that's going to be the gap map. And they're going to be the things that if you address those, so it's going to be in relation to your self image, your self awareness, your identity, and your beliefs. But it's also going to be things like the actions that you take to move your business forward, the consistency with those actions, and knowing things like who's your ideal client, where do those people hang out? What do you need to do? Where do you need to be able to network with those people, reach out to those people, communicate with those people in a way where they might like to work with you? So they're the kind of things that I would look at in what we call this gap map. And once we know those and we can start to work on those, then we're going to elevate to where we want to be in our business. So that's our first E, evaluating where you are versus where you'd like to be. And this gap map, what are maybe some of the blocks that we put in our own way? And very often we do put the blocks in our own way. We sometimes work against ourselves, is a saying that we have here in Ireland. So how could I fill in that gap? What could I do? Who do I need to be? How do I need to show up differently to be the person I need to be, who will do the things that I need to do to grow my business successfully and to also grow my life successfully? So to have the vision of the life that I want to live. Our second E then is, so this is an equation of Jack Canfield's, E plus R equals O. And that equation stands for, in our second box here, event plus response equals outcome. An event plus response equals outcome is basically, the principle is that very often we cannot control the events. The events will happen. So wars in our world will happen, political issues will happen, recessions will happen. Businesses will go out of business, will decline, will move. They're events that we don't have, very often we don't have very much control over. And they will produce certain outcomes. But the one thing that we do have control over is the R, it's how we respond. So, how I respond to challenge, despite the events, is going to produce the outcomes. So, in my first business, I started the business in 2004. And by year 3, I had started working with a business coach. I was elevating my results. The business was really starting to take off. So, by mid 2006, going into 2007. In 2008 in Ireland and across the world globally, we hit the worst recession we have ever seen. 1 in 5 businesses in Ireland went out of business. One of the reasons that I bought over my competitor, they got into financial trouble for various reasons. But what I'm saying there is, it was how I responded to the challenge of that recession. So there were things in the business I had to change. There were services that I was no longer going to be able to sell. So organizations were no longer buying expensive health screenings for their staff. So I thought, okay, what do I need to do? And how do I need to respond to that? So it was about maybe changing my service offering a little bit and flipping some of the services that were no longer going to be of use to employers because they didn't have the finances to fund them, and look at, okay, what do they need? So that produced the outcome where I actually grew. My highest years of growth in my first business were 2011 and 2012, while we were still in recession. And that was very much that I had to show up in a way that I responded, that I was not going to let the recession beat me. I was not going to let the recession make me one of those statistics of someone whose business declined, someone who went out of business, someone who had to go back into employment. It's not to say that I couldn't have done that had it happened, but that wasn't what I wanted. So I had to respond and show up very, very differently. And that's exactly what I did. And I'm not saying that to say, look at me, am I brilliant? I'm saying that because it's so important. I had a coach who pushed me, and I was so lucky. And I was able to, because I had started to do so much self development work, I was able to respond differently. And this even comes down to people. We have it maybe in our business if we employ people, we have it in our families, we might have it in our friend circle. The difference between reacting and responding. So if you're letting events or people, and it's usually events or people, trigger you in a way that puts you in a negative mindset, it makes you question yourself, it makes you show up where you're looking at beliefs that are maybe not true, and you're being hard on yourself and you're beating yourself up, then the outcome is not going to be positive. But if you can respond rather than react, and this takes time and it takes effort, and you have to know yourself to know, okay, why does that trigger me? Why has that annoyed me? Why, am I nervous about that presentation? Why am I letting the fact that that client went with, or that prospect went with someone else? Why would I let that derail me? So these are all responses and reactions that are really, really important in terms of elevating our results. And sometimes it's about, okay, what do I need to reframe? So the one thing I will always say to my clients is, I want you to feel some fear. Because when you feel a little bit of fear, you know your goal is big enough that you are going to grow, and you are going to grow into a person that you are not at the moment, in order to be able to achieve that goal. So fear is good. Fear means you're not in your comfort zone. We don't feel fear in our comfort zone. So there is something that we can reframe. So creating a different perception or thought around something is how we can start to respond, and frame it in a way that we're going to allow it to work for us rather than work against us. And then that will tell us where we need to show up differently. So I use the example of some nursing colleagues that I would no longer be in contact with because it didn't suit them that I wanted to leave nursing to suit a business. And in the beginning, before I started the business, I let that in on me, and I thought, okay, there's something wrong with me. I'm so lucky to have been able to qualify as a nurse, to work as a nurse, and I loved so many aspects of nursing. But I was taking their opinion and making that about me, and it wasn't. So I needed to show up differently. I needed to stop letting other people's opinions dictate the inner chat that I was having in my own head. And I needed to say, this is my vision, and I'm aligned with it. And the work that I do is of good in the world. Employee health is hugely important. If someone is healthy, they're going to have a better lifestyle, they're going to have a nicer experience in the workplace. And that was what was important to me. So I had to reframe any negativity from people about, why would you give up nursing? Why would you start a business? You don't know anything about business. You've never been in business. All these kind of things that would have been said. And sometimes people say these things because they care, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I need to let it in on me. I don't need to react to it, and I don't need to let it into my head. So looking at the response versus the react is really, really important. And that's basically our E plus R equals O, which, as I say, is Jack Canfield's success principle. And I absolutely love it, and I've used it for years, and I use it on a weekly basis. I would say there will be things where I say to myself, E plus R equals O, Anne-Marie, and I think, okay, how do I need to respond to this situation? I actually had something yesterday where I had a second meeting with a corporate organization around some training for quarter 4 in 2024, and I thought the training might go ahead in quarter 3, so they've pushed it out now twice. And I thought, okay, I could look at this and say they're trying to basically not tell me it's not going ahead, or they're using somebody else, but I chose not to do that. So the old me, 15 years ago in business probably would have done that, but I'm able now to choose different responses because I've done the inner work. And when we go inside, we don't go without, because we learn the tools to respond. So that's our E plus R equals O. And obviously then the big thing is, I need to take responsibility for me, for my responses, for my reactions, for my habits, for my behaviors, for the things I think, for the things I do. And once I take responsibility, then I'm able to say, okay, how can I show up differently? How can I reframe this thought that isn't serving me? How can I do something about my results that I'm not happy about? And when I take responsibility, I don't blame or complain. I don't blame others. I don't blame the economy. I don't blame the politicians because I've no control over what they do. So I can respond by going within for me and taking responsibility for my results. So one of the things I would ask people to do after this presentation, so I usually say, okay, if we were to look at if you were to take 5% more responsibility, because if I say take 100% responsibility, that's a big thought. And that can be very overwhelming, particularly if anyone's at an early stage in their business or at an early stage in their self development or business development journey. 100% seems huge. But okay, what if I take 5%? So if I take 5% more responsibility for my fitness, I might take the stairs, not the elevator. I might walk every day. I might take some level of physical activity every day. I might make sure that I do my meditation 7 days a week. I might make sure that I do breathing exercises if I'm feeling a moment of stress. So that would be 5% more responsibility and showing up differently. And you can use that for any of those 7 key areas that I looked at. We can actually apply that for all of those areas. If I were to take 5% more responsibility for my finances, I mightn't shop as much. I mightn't go online and buy things I don't need. I mightn't, I might take more responsibility for putting more money in my pension. So we can look at really any area in our business development. I might take, if I'm going to take 5% more responsibility, I might do one extra sales call this week. I might do one extra networking event this week. I might show up to a working event 100% committed and not distracted by something else. So just look at where could you take more responsibility to elevate your business results. So that's our second E. So we've done evaluating where you are versus where you want to be, and we've done our E plus R equals O. And the whole principle behind E plus R equals O is taking responsibility for our own results. And our third E then is to do with our self image. So it's evaluating our self image and the belief systems that we have that make us think the things that we think. And then that makes us do the things that we do or don't do, which may also be the case. So I love this quote by Andrew Carnegie, and it's one that I've done a lot of training, and I've been very lucky to have mentors like Jack Canfield, Bob Proctor, Brian Tracy, and all of them would have used this quote over various trainings that we would have done. So any idea that I hold in the mind, any idea that I hold in my mind, whether it's feared or revered. So whether feared is very obvious. Revered basically means whether I like it or not, whether it's something that I'm really aligned with, something that I love, something that I believe in, or something that's feared, it will begin to clothe itself in the most convenient and appropriate physical form available. So, what does that mean? It basically means I become what I think about. We become what we think about all the time. So, any idea we have about ourselves or a situation or our business, our clients, that is going to produce the results. It's a self fulfilling prophecy. What I believe to be true will become my truth. So, again, if I use the example of the recession, 1 in 5 businesses went out of business in Ireland in the recession. So, if I believed I was going to go out of business, I would not have shown up in a way to make sure my business grew. If I took that belief on, I'm going to act in accordance with that belief. I'm going to be aligned with that belief. And that vibration is going to attract the things that are going to make that belief come true. So we become what we think about all of the time. And any idea that we impress in the mind, and that's our subconscious mind, that's what will be fed, that it will become my reality. So the quote from Bob Proctor used it all the time, but I don't think it's Bob's quote. I think it might actually be a quote from Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. Believe and belief creates the fact. And that basically means what I think about will become my reality. So it's really, really important that we look at what are the thoughts that we have. Now, if you look at the word beliefs here that I have in this square, I have 4 letters in red for a reason. L, I, E, and S. So that spells lies. So there's a difference between a belief and a truth. So a belief is I couldn't grow my business by 150,000 euro in the next 6 months. That's a belief. A fact is it is 174200 hours in Dublin in Ireland, and in 1 hour's time it will be 184200 hours in Ireland. That's a fact. The sun will rise this morning and the sun will set this evening. That's a fact. A belief is other people could achieve success, but I wouldn't be able to get that. I wouldn't be able to achieve that level of success in business, or I wouldn't be able to leave my corporate job to start the business of my dreams. That's a belief. So beliefs basically are thoughts that we've had for a long enough period of time that we have given feeling to, our emotional feeling to from our subconscious mind, and that has made it a fact in our head. So we have the thought, we attach the feeling, and that then becomes our reality. But that's not necessarily the case, because any of us can achieve anything we want. The human mind is beyond measurable in terms of its potential. There is no computer, there is no AI tool in this world, nor has there ever been, that would equal the phenomenal potential that we have locked up in our mind. So just look at what are beliefs that you have. So they'll usually be things that you think towards the negative. Other people could do it, but I can't. Another example, maths is not my strong point. It's not my strongest subject at all. So therefore, I have a very good bookkeeper who does all my figures. So I know the difference between a cost price and a selling price. I know the difference between profit and loss. But I'm 20 years in business and I couldn't put together an Excel spreadsheet. So I hire someone to do that for me. So I know every week what my profit and loss is, my P&L, and that's done for me. So I don't waste time trying to learn how to do that because I'm not interested in it. But what I want to do is be speaking on a stage here, speaking to you guys for the next hour, or in the hour that we have. I don't want to be trying to learn how to do Excel. So it's around looking at beliefs that you have will be things where you think towards the negative, things where you put yourself down, things where you think you're not, maybe you're not good enough, you're not capable, you don't have what it takes. And sometimes clients will say to me, but AnneMarie, I don't sit and say those negative things to myself. You don't have to say the words. Your subconscious mind operates on vibration, it operates on frequency. So if you're in a vibrational frequency that's thinking thoughts of lack or scarcity or not good enough, then you don't have to say the words. The subconscious mind is going to produce the results around that. And remember what I said about our little amygdala here? That's our negativity bias. So we have to override that. We have to create a new neural pathway by creating a new belief system. So it's not about trying to fight against beliefs that don't serve us. It's about looking at, okay, why am I thinking this thought? Where does that come from? And I will always say to clients, anyone who's ever worked with me will always say, I always think of you when I hear the word evidence. Because if somebody says something to me, I will say, okay, where do you have evidence that that is true? If it's something where they're putting themselves down because they're not getting the results they want. So it usually comes in the form of an excuse. And we all make excuses. Of course we do. We're human. But I will always say to my clients, where is your evidence that that is true? So, you're not good enough at maths to start a business, AnneMarie. I was told that at 16 years of age in school. That was a belief that I took on from a teacher. It wasn't a fact. Is it my strongest subject? Absolutely not. But I didn't make it my strongest subject because I didn't like it. So just look at beliefs that you might have that may not serve you. And your self image, and what I mean by self image is it's not, sometimes if we use the word image, we think, okay, what do I see when I look in the mirror? But it's not that. It's who do I identify with? What are the type of things that I say about myself? Even, if you're doing affirmations and I'm saying I'm confident, Well, somewhere I probably believe that I'm not if I'm trying to affirm that. So where does that part of your awareness or belief come from? And usually the paradigm has been given to us. So by parents or carers, by teachers, by our school system. And it's not to say that any of these people set out to do harm. For the most part, they probably didn't. They did the best they could do at the time. Do I have paradigms? Absolutely. Like, am I going to go home and say to my parents, you gave me this paradigm? No, because they did the best that they could do with the resources that they had, with their own paradigms. And I mean, I have paradigms and I count myself blessed that I'm someone, I got a really good education. I got so many opportunities in terms of playing music, of travel. I got so much emotional support as a child. But then you have a school system. So it may not necessarily have just been that. Also, for my formative years, I was a middle child. So I have a lot of the traits of a middle child. Where I was in the middle, I wasn't the oldest, I wasn't the youngest, I wasn't the only girl, I wasn't a boy. So it was okay. Where does AnneMarie fit in the three people? Do you know? So just look at in looking at the paradigms. It's not about looking at them to keep you stuck or to go back and have any anger towards. And there may be elements where you have resentment or you have anger, and that's something that you may decide. Okay, this is showing up, and I want to change it, and I want to get help with it. So beliefs are created by our paradigm, and it's about looking at what are some of the beliefs that hold me back? Where do I think these come from? And again, questioning, do I have evidence that this belief is true? Do I have evidence that this belief is true? Sometimes we hold on to beliefs because we don't want to change our habits. Sometimes it's more comfortable to hold on to the belief that's keeping us stuck because it means we don't have to, maybe enter that cave of having to really look deeply to change what we would need to change. And sometimes that could be what holds us back. So look at how do you identify? Do you identify as someone who is successful, who is motivated, who is capable, who's confident, who's aligned? Or do you identify as someone who is a perfectionist? You beat yourself up over the slightest little thing going wrong. You want to try and control everything in your business, and that's maybe not working. Do you identify as someone who believes they maybe don't have what it takes and other people are luckier because they have more resources, more money, more time, more freedom, whatever it might be? So that's going to give you an idea of where your self concept is. So it's not just, as I say, it's not just image in terms of what do I physically see when I look in the mirror. It's about who do I believe I am. So if you answer that question, if you write that question down on a blank sheet of paper, and again, this is an exercise I very often do with my clients. Who am I? And when I ask that, when I do training, corporate training, I'll often ask that in a group. And I'll get answers like I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a business owner, you know, I'm a sports person. But they're roles. So very often we identify with our roles, but that's not who you are on the inside. So who are you at your core? That's a really, really important thing to look at. And looking at the positive. And all of us have positives, no matter how we show up. And even with people who cause us to react in a way that we don't want to, those people have positives. There's just something there where maybe their identity isn't where they want it to be, and it comes from something within them. And that's another really important thing in the E plus R equals O, guys. The response. If something causes you to really react, then it's an emotion within you that could be unrecognized, or it could be unresolved, or it could be both. But when I react to something, it's never about the other person, it's about something in me. This is another thing that's really important to look at. When we look at our reactions, that can be a real giveaway in terms of our level of self-belief, our level of self-awareness, our level of inner confidence. And ultimately it comes back to our self-image. And that's really what we mean by paradigm. So our paradigm is the way we are mentally programmed now at this moment in time today that has exclusive control over our behavior, and the behavior becomes our habit. So most of our behaviors become habitual. And Bob Proctor used to always use this when Bob was alive. He's no longer with us physically, but he was a really, really, really incredible man. And he used to always say this: you are the only problem you will ever have, but you're also the only solution. So you have a choice and you have the control to change anything within your life you want. You're the solution to any problem. This is the law of cause and effect. I create the causes and then the effects look after themselves. So looking at that self-awareness, that self-image, that inner belief, what would have to change for me to create different effects? That's our cause. That's the inner cause that we would go to. So the paradigm is really, really important. And as I said, this is what this is really what we call vibration. So if you look at these lines, these thin yellow lines, these are frequencies. So we operate on frequency. So just like your iPhone operates on a frequency, your mind and your mindset operates on a frequency. So it's a level of vibration. And this has been proven by quantum physics over hundreds of thousands of studies over hundreds and hundreds of years. So science, and I very often look to the science, and I think that's the nurse in me. Science will refer to it as vibration or frequency, and theology usually will refer to it as spirit, but they both mean the same thing. So if your results are down here on the red line, so your current results are here, that is because they are aligned with the thoughts that you think. You will be a vibrational match for your thoughts. We become what we think about. So if I think something, then I'm going to attract, I'm going to be a vibrational match to prove that to be true. If we want to elevate our goal to up here, then I need to elevate my thoughts as well. So up through these lines, I need to look at the things that I need to change in my identity to show up as the person I need to be to get to our gold star up here. So our current results versus our goal, it's these lines of vibration. So upping our level of vibration, changing the frequency of the thoughts, changing the behaviors that come out of those thoughts, that's what's going to get us to our goal. And sometimes I will say, if down here is AM results, if we look at frequency in terms of the radio, so AM and FM are two of our very common frequencies. So if my results are down here on an AM frequency, I am not going to get my goal on FM music. So there's a really great station in Dublin called 2FM. If I want 2FM and I have my car radio programmed on an AM frequency, I'm not going to get 2FM. So I have to change the frequency that controls the thought that I have in the first place. So unless we change the thinking behind our results, then the results themselves are very, very unlikely to change. So let me just minimize those. So if we just go back up to our 7, so just in summary, our 7 principles for elevation. So E plus R equals O, event plus response equals outcome. How you respond will dictate the outcomes because we don't have control over the event, but we do have control over how we respond to the event. The level of vibration of your thinking, so what we've just covered, your AM frequency versus your FM frequency, that is going to determine the results. Knowing where you are versus where you want to be is really, really important because we can't do something about something we're not aware of. So we have to be aware in order to make the choice to change what needs to be changed to create the new result. Vision. Our vision is so important. So, what will your business look like when it's done, when it's successful, when it's where you want to be? What is that picture? What is the revenue goal? What is your time off? What kind of clients will you work with? What kind of staff will you have? What markets will you operate in? These are all parts of the vision. And our mind thinks in pictures. So it's really, really important that we have that vision. Action, then, nothing happens without action. Absolutely nothing. We can do every other thing, but if we're not taking action, we're not moving forward. And action also allows us to course correct if we're off track, if we're not getting the results and we're taking the action, then I know, okay, something I'm doing here is not working. What could I do differently? The terror barrier then is our fear. So what is the fear? Is it fear of success? Is it fear of failure? Is it, fear of being judged, which is really where most fear comes from? So again, we're programmed to come from a place of fear. When we are babies, we are born with two fears: loud noises and a fear of falling. That is it. Every other fear we have is learned. And then our examination of our self awareness and our inner beliefs, because that determines your self value, will determine your business value. And you cannot consistently outperform a poor self image or a poor self belief, because when things are going great, that it's not going to be a problem. But it's when you hit a wall, you don't get the contract, the prospect goes with someone else, the client doesn't renew. They're the times when our self-value, our self-image, our self-awareness, when we're going to hit that wall. So that is the Elevate system, 7 principles for success, and a few little things for you to do. So look at your gap map. Look at your commitment score on a scale of 1 to 10. Are you committed or are you interested? Look at your 5% more responsibility, and then that will allow you to create a new action plan that's going to elevate your results. And we still have 5 months left in 2024. So even if it hasn't gone the way you'd like it to go so far, we still have time to finish strong. Even if you didn't start as strong as you'd have liked, we still have time to finish strong. So thank you, Caroline, so much for the opportunity to present. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope the audience found that of use.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. This was amazing. I have many, many takeaways, and we have a listener and our audio, and we have Aaron here on
Hi,
stage.
Aaron.
I don't know if you have a question or if you have time for questions, AnneMarie. We
I
have
do.
2 minutes. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much.
Any questions?
No questions, but I just really I thought about what you just said about, finishing the year out strong. Um, a lot of people find this point to give up or go back to their old habits.
Yeah.
And we have to look at our goals and be like, even if I haven't checked this off, I can still move forward passionate. I can still move forward preparing myself to achieve my goals. So
Yeah.
I think that's a message that everyone needs.
Yeah. Absolutely, Aaron. Yeah, that's a brilliant way to put it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This was amazing. What an event today. Stage of Inspiration. The replay will be available soon, of course. Same link, you know. And yeah, thank you so much, AnneMarie. It was great.
Thank you,
Elevate.
Caroline.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank-
And see you at the
uh,
next stage, right?
See you at the next stage. Thanks so much. Have a lovely day.
You too.